Hello. A very good evening to all of you. Wow, that's great. I get energy from here. So friends, today as you all know, two beautiful subjects. How to crack high-end commercial deals. The introduction of gentleman Mr. Sudhanshu will be done by our Vice President. He will do it later on definitely. And how to lease high-end commercials. So his session is the second session. First session is of Sudhanshu. Before that, let me welcome two members, new members. One is Burzin. Burzin, please come forward. The request of Secretary Shruti Madam to come forward and present him the pin of our wonderful organization, Professional Realtors of Pune. Yesterday, when we had a Zoom meeting, our National President said we should have more and more lady realtors. So it is talk which starts every time. So today we have got one more lady realtor with us, Sophia. Sophia, will you come forward, please? Please do the honors.
Welcome, Sophia. Thank you.
Madam, one second. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless. Welcome to the family of God.
Thank you.
I know you all are waiting for Sudhanshu. On behalf of Professional Realtors of Pune, and as your president is the chairman for Business Growth National Realtors of India, I would like to present you with this wonderful session of how to crack high-end deals in commercial. Could I request our Vice President Abhijit to introduce our guest?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abhijit Sabarwar. It is my pleasure today to be here, and I'm welcoming all the dignitaries and all the prop members today for this event. Today our program is as follows: how to effectively manage large leasing transaction and how to crack high-end commercial sales deal. So our first keynote speaker, Mr. Sudhanshu Kejriwal, Managing Director of KEYDEMAND. Mr. Sudhanshu is going to take our training program today, how to crack high-end commercial deals. So Mr. Sudhanshu has 16 plus years of experience in fundamental of structuring deals. He is specialized in capital advisory, hospitality for developers nationwide. He have raised more than $1.5 billion in real estate sector till date. Presenting Mr. Sudhanshu, please join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Darshanji. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Nan. I believe Nan members are now watching this live. I was told session is already live. So it's actually been a great honor to be invited here by Prof and Nan to meet and discuss commercial real estate opportunities, transactions with Prof members. So what we thought is that before we start a training session, it is important to actually share some facts and figures about what is commercial real estate transactions looking like on a nationwide basis. So we'll take about 5 minutes to give some facts and figures about what is happening on the commercial real estate side. Is this visible to everyone? Yeah.
I can't read it.
ये वाले बंद करें तो visibility बढ़ जाएगी।
Yeah, I think so.
This one.
ये छतरी
we cannot. Yeah, we cannot close it.
So you can do this one.
Yeah, that will do.
I can come there and talk. My trigger में वहाँ बैठ सकता हूँ. I don't have a problem.
No, I think ये जो
He's closing. He's gone.
Better? Yeah. Okay. So I'll now continue from where we left. So again, before people forget, we are talking about facts and figures of commercial real estate as we stand today. Okay. So India is one of the fastest growing economies in the country. I think. It's not right. So India is one of the fastest growing economies in the country. Everybody knows that. Let's just talk about where is the demand for commercial real estate coming. We are again expecting leasing on the commercial real estate side to touch around 47 million for the current year. From the current year, we are expecting again IT and co-working sectors to be the maximum consumers. Co-working sectors turned out to be a surprising, I would say, leader when it came to consumption. We'll show you some facts and figures later on that. The next slide is actually a very important one and a very, very interesting one. Today when we are talking about commercial real estate transactions, okay, there is an understanding that commercial real estate transactions are large in size in terms of leasing. Factually, more than 50% of commercial real estate transactions are under 50,000 square feet per transaction. In fact, the figure at the bottom, if people can see, more than around 24% of the transaction on commercial real estate is between 10 to 20,000 square feet each. When we are talking about office sizes getting consumed across the country, most of the cities are actually on the small office sizes, that is under 20,000 square feet. One other figure which is on the top corner out there, under 10,000 square feet, which is 37% of the total market. On the left side, you can see Mumbai is on the medium size when we are talking about around 50,000 square feet. But all other cities, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, Ahmedabad, these are all cities which are consuming small sizes of offices. So I thought before we take you through about how to do large transactions, good to have some facts and figures. I touched about it a little earlier. This slide is only showing as to where the consumption is happening. Not surprisingly, 1/4 of the market is controlled by technology, followed by co-working. This was a pretty low consumer pre-COVID. This was at a number of about 8 to 9%. During COVID, people realized they want more flexibility. People want, to disperse offices. There was some decentralization, and co-working and managed office spaces came in and fit that requirement perfectly. Today, there are multiple brands in Pune towards the Ramannagar side and Baner side, without taking names of brands, but everybody knows there is a huge amount of consumption which is happening on the co-working and managed office spaces. So going forward, also we are expecting this trend to continue for a few years. Banking and financial services. This is another large consumer, especially in cities like Pune, where you are seeing a lot of banks having their back offices. This will continue to be a pretty large consumer for both retail as well as commercial office spaces. Finally, manufacturing and other sectors. So, talking about retail spaces now. Retail spaces, surprisingly, right, e-commerce grew drastically during COVID, warehousing grew drastically during COVID. The consumption of retail also grew drastically during COVID. People miss the experience of actually going to a shop. People miss the experience of going to a restaurant. People miss the experience of going to cinema halls. What has led post-COVID is a huge surge of demand for retail. Right? We are now seeing brands expanding in a very drastic manner, wanting to enter tier 2, tier 3 and even tier 4 cities. We were talking to some brands which said that we want to reach cities with a 3 lakh population. This was never the case earlier. So there is a huge expansion which we are seeing on retail. Footfalls have been extremely high on high street and retail malls. And this is something, again, the next slide will show as to where the consumption is going. I'm just going to repeat myself again. In the next few years, we are expecting 31 million square feet of malls coming up in the country. Around 70 malls which are planned in the country. And top 7 cities are growing further, Pune being one of the top consumers of retail. Yeah. So this is the slide I wanted to show earlier. The retail consumption right now is being led by NCR, Pune, Bangalore and Hyderabad. The other cities are quantifying only 30% of the total demand. The consumption primarily right now is coming from fashion, which is apparel, footwear, cosmetics. Most of this is coming from fashion, followed by supermarkets and home decor, entertainment. You can understand that people have not gone shopping for 2 years. That is all coming out now. But we expect this trend to continue. We are seeing large brands now, entering even tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, where opening large stores. So there is a lot of focus on apparel, footwear, other retail activity. And there are totally 6,500 brands registered in the country, retail brands registered. We are expecting more brands to enter the country. We are expecting more international brands to enter the country. Just summarizing facts and figures now. Non-residential real estate is close to around 80 million square feet a year. This includes office spaces, this includes retail spaces, it includes logistics, which is around 3 times that of residential real estate on an annual basis. Again, going back to office spaces, more than 85% of the demand is under 50,000 square feet. And lastly, retail consumption on an annual basis is expected to be around 6 million square feet a year, 30 million square feet coming over the next 3 years. So this was just covering facts and figures. I hope I have not put people to sleep. But now is the time when we will just try and cover some of the topics which we are here for. Yeah? Thank you. So when we are talking about high-end deals, so normally when we are talking about high-end commercial deals, can I ask the audience out here, okay, when we are talking about demand and supply. Supply normally from a high-end commercial deal would be coming from a developer, am I wrong on that?
Yes, definitely.
It would have come from a retail investor also, but primarily a developer. Who normally is your consumer on a high-end deal when you talk about large sizes? Corporates, right? It could be retail investors also, right? It could be retail investors, but primarily we would say corporates. It is very, very important. Okay, how many times once a year we do a KYC at a bank, okay, or mutual fund or any other financial thing, we are doing a KYC. We are doing a KYC to do UPI also once a year. When we are doing a high-end commercial deal, it is extremely important to know our customers. Not only the demand, but also the supply. The end use of that sale or that lease for your developer or your supplier is important for us to understand. It is very, very important for us to understand because it helps us structure the rest of the transaction. So if you are talking about somebody who's saying, I want to lease and hold this asset for myself, his requirement is very different from somebody who says, I want to sell this asset. Or it is very different from somebody who says, I want to lease it and then sell it. So you should understand why the developer or the owner of the asset has employed our services for it. Very important, because the next slide will tell you as to why we are saying so. At the same time, when we are representing a client, a consumer, it is very important to understand why he needs it. Who is he? What is his track record? How many times in this room have we tried to close a transaction and it has not happened for some reason? And sometimes it could be because we misunderstood the consumer itself. So it is very important when we are putting our time and effort into any transaction, it will not take much to actually do some research on the customer that you are representing. Every customer, every corporate has their own way of functioning. They have their own methodology of functioning. So it is important to do some research on them. Find out if we are representing to somebody that he is going to be a long-term tenant for you. Find out, are they adequately funded? At the end of the day, we are morally obligated to a developer saying, I have got you a good deal, I have got you a good sale, a good partner. But we should know whether he is adequately funded. Right? Know your city. A lot of people, when they are coming to Pune, they want not buy to they purchase. Right? Primary reason is they want appreciation while they are using the asset also. They may not be wanting to pay lease, but their primary reason is they also want appreciation. They want to hold their real estate. Or they are getting their real estate at a value at which they think there is natural appreciation built in if it's at a discount. So as prop members, we are considered to be of high pedigree. Right? We should be able to understand where the city is going. We should be able to understand where the new infrastructure is coming, where the metro lines are coming, where the new ring roads are being made. It is important for us to have that master plan of the city. So when we are presenting to a customer, saying this is a high growth corridor, we should be actually be able to show it to them. We should be convinced ourselves that we are being able to. So can I ask somebody, can you sell something you're not convinced about yourself?
No.
Right? So it's important to convince ourselves first. And that convincing is going to come if I know where the city is going. We are selling not only a part of real estate, we are selling a part of Pune. It is important for us to understand Pune very well, understand the growth corridors of Pune. Right? I realized 3 years back, there is a 100 feet road coming up from Baner to Mahalunge. Right? Has Mahalunge changed over the last 3 years? Can somebody say yes or no?
Yes, of course.
It has changed. The demand in Mahalunge is now higher than Hinsebri.
Yes.
Right? That is because of the infrastructure which was coming up. And a handful of people who knew that did very well in that. So it is important for us to understand the city very well. Yeah. Then coming back to the first slide, right? Why is your customer doing what he is doing? Does he want to hold the asset? Is it a build to suit transaction? Right? Is it a lease and sale transaction? Or it is a pure strata transaction? Your seller, you need to understand the seller why he is doing it. Is he doing a build to suit and then he wants to do a forward purchase for it? So you need to structure the transaction accordingly. I'll come into the structuring part out here. When we're talking about unleased transaction will always have two aspects to it. Okay? One is what is the price, and the second is how am I going to fund it? Can you bring in funding for your buyer as well? When we are talking about high-end trades, we also talk about money. Cash flow runs everything. I learned it back in my management school. No matter which business you are running, cash flow runs everything. That's that orange blood which goes through every organization to keep it alive. Right? So can you bring in funding? Can you bring in LAP? Can you bring in some structure for your buyer? Can you build that alliance with your fund lending partners included for your buyer? If it is unleased, is your developer giving a 1090 scheme? Those are very important things to understand when you are talking about an unleased transaction. When you talk about a pre-lease transaction, fairly simple, fairly simple. We are structuring trades where buyers are saying it's a pre-lease transaction, I want an X percentage yield. Is that X percentage yield enough for us to get an LRD from a lender? So at any given point of time, you all can please stop me and raise any questions. Can you get an LRD for a lender? The LRD required, is it good enough for the lender to cover that asset? So we need to understand, these are very simple things to understand. It takes probably from one transaction, it will take you 2 days to try and understand the basics. Nobody needs to be an expert at this currently. But if you have the basic understanding, when you are representing something to someone, you can actually tell the buyer, "Hey sir, I will also get you the funding to purchase this." The chances for him to do it through you go much higher than somebody is saying, "Sir, this is the property, this is the yield, can you purchase it at that?" So when we do transactions, we always try and get end-to-end solutions. And every transaction has a different solution. Back to that side. And when we are talking about build-to-suit requirements, right? Build-to-suit requirements are actually the most fun to do, but actually the most complicated to do also. Because when we are talking about build-to-suit requirements, they have a lot of technicality to it. They take the most amount of patience. All large transactions, by the way, will require a lot of patience. But this one takes the maximum amount of patience. If somebody is doing build-to-suit, it will pass your buyer's architectural team, it will pass their fit-out team, their master block, everything it will be passing through. These are the most rewarding, but these are the most time-taking. So try and get some technical knowledge in terms of what are the stages before we commit to any of them. Today, if we are committing to a developer saying that we are going to do this build-to-suit for you, if you have a minor technical knowledge, you will know at the very beginning it may not go through. If a floor plate is required, you should know कि इस पर इतना floor plate आएगा, ये इतना setback है, it will not fall in place. We do not require detailed. Again, I am repeating myself. We do not require detailed knowledge of all this. We require basic knowledge of all this to prevent ourselves from overcommitting to anybody, and at the same time prepare ourselves to actually make a very good business case from people who can do this trade. Build alliances. Some of these slides are going to have an overlap. Build as many alliances as you can. Build as many alliances as you can. The buyer may not be coming from Pune. He would be probably be coming from out of Pune. He may or may not have somebody empaneled with him. If we can provide them local help besides the financing, like I said, providing lab, LRD, all of that. If you can provide construction finance help to your developer, he may already have it. But you can always tell me, sir, along with this build-to-suit, we'll also be able to get you construction finance from the bank. We've got contacts with these 2 or 3 banks and we'll be able to do this end-to-end transaction. It shows us in a higher regard and we can actually do that trade much faster. But that is not the only help a build-to-suit transaction requires. That is not the only help other transaction requires. And outsider from Pune will require licensing, may require a good architect, may require a good local lawyer who can do the initial due diligence for them, may require fit-out specialists. These are small things we often ignore. If you see large brokerage houses across the country have all of this in-house. They have a lot of this in-house. They can do the technical in-house. Okay? Of course, legal is outsourced. Why are they so large? Because they have taken care of these small things. And these small things does not mean that we need to have a very large team. We just need to give some more time to our specialty, saying, okay, let me try and see who we know on the banking side. In town. We are in touch with architects in Bombay, we are in touch with architects in Hyderabad, Bangalore. Not that they are going to give me business. It is so that having their assistance helps me close transactions, helps us close transactions. Okay, we are known to a lot of law firms. Only because when a transaction comes and somebody says that, can you refer a lawyer to us? Can you offer legal help to us in Pune or some other place? Our agenda is only one thing. Can I assist that transaction in a better manner? So having good alliances in place is going to help our business. It shows us that we know our business. We can actually help a client from the very beginning, from saying, you want to come to Pune, you want this, I will help you choose the location because I know the city very well. I know where the growth corridors are. I know which developer can supply this because I know my supplier's needs very well as to which one wants to hold back, which one wants to sell. And not only that, I will also help you with an end-to-end solution. These end-to-end solutions go a long way when it comes to large commercial trades. I think I've covered this slide already right now, that when we're trying to assist the client, go from the very beginning till the end. From finding the property till occupancy. That hand-holding will always repeat that client for us. That hand-holding will always give us references to other clients. Thank you. I think I'm done with my session. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
I think your presentation was really nice and informative. Do you have some reference of some understand and you can understand all these technical jargons and other things?
So what I'll do is, instead of books, we will share some links to you.
Sure.
Okay. COVID times taught us a lot that you can do online.
Correct. Yes. That's best actually.
So what we will do is we will send links to you.
Okay.
That these are some good links for your reference. Okay. Not everything is a jargon.
Okay.
Okay. It is basically used very frequently. It's just that we don't use it.
Yes, that's all.
Right. So there are a lot of sites which actually cover decent amount of this. So we'll send a link to Rob and they can share it with all them.
Sure. Great. Thanks.
Anything else?
I mean, what value do you think is the high value?
Sorry?
What is the value that you think is the high value? A transaction of 50 crore, less than that, more.
So again, that depends, right? High value transaction could be of lower value but higher size. Right? It could be a higher size. A transaction in Hinjewadi versus a transaction in Vimannagar. Like size will depend everything. High value transaction could depend from an individual to individual, a channel partner to channel partner. So for us, anything which we are saying high value transaction are transactions which are typically 20,000 square feet plus. But this is equally applicable for 5,000 square feet. All of this is equally applicable to 5,000 square feet also. But a larger transaction, all of this becomes a far more important aspect.
Both the parties pay a certain standard.
In terms of sales, I would put it as 80% of the times the buyer will also pay. 20% of the times there's a chance the buyer will not pay.
And rental, when it's leasing,
Leasing, again, there is that 80-20 ratio which continues. In fact, on the leasing side, it may be 50-50 or 60-40. There are certain industries which do not pay leasing fees. You are supposed to take it from the supplier side. There are certain category of buyers. If your buyer is, say, a fund, they may not pay. But like I said, what we have seen on the buy side, you will get an 80-20. On the leasing side, that may be a 65-35.
and what percentage, or that is all mutual?
That is all mutual. That is mutually discussed. Like on the leasing side, we are doing transactions where the occupier will pay a 7-day or 15-day rental. It's all mutual, but most of them corporates will have their standard clauses that we pay 15 days, we pay 7 days. There is less scope of negotiation with corporates saying how much will you pay. But normally they have their standard and that is discussed and disclosed very upfront, so there are no surprises. That is another thing we would always suggest every channel partner. We all have a tendency of getting carried away with large transactions, saying it's a large transaction, I need to do this. It is very important to understand what are we working for. Larger brokerage houses are very, very clear on this, and that's the reason they are large. We should not ever think that our services can be negotiated later. Please cover yourself. If the large transaction is there, you are getting paid large. But if you have not negotiated in advance, the heartbreaks are larger.
What is the typical time frame for any high-end transactions?
Good question. Very, very good question. Typically what we've seen is averages between 3 to 6 months. A build-to-suit transaction will be closer to 6 months, but typically it's 3 to 6 months. If it's a pre-lease transaction, it may happen closer to 3 months. High-value transaction go through a rigorous due diligence process. So today when we are talking about pre-lease transaction, we think okay, pre-lease hai, yield hai, transaction ho jayega, right? But when we get into the due diligence of that, the due diligence is not only on the title. The due diligence is also on the approvals. The due diligence is also on the technical. The due diligence is also done on any violations done. People will go down to the level of you had promised 98 car parks. Why are there only 94 car parks? Right? And that will take 2 weeks of fresh negotiation. As much as both of them want to do that trade, those 4 car parks may delay the transaction by another 2 weeks. The stakeholders may not be available. They are out of town. There are a lot of third-party vendors which get involved. The third-party vendors are not available. So high-value transactions, patience is the key. Patience is the key. But it's also very important to stay in control of the transaction as much as possible. Any other questions?
You were talking about build-to-suit. Would you take us through your experience about build-to-suit? As you said, build-to-suit from the developer side or builder side. How was the overall experience?
So we've done a couple of build-to-suit transactions in different parts of the country. There is one transaction we did in Bangalore. Right? It was a very interesting one. It was for a healthcare company. It was close to 2.5 lakhs.
So that was for the client side, right?
I'm taking you to the entire thing. Right? I was just reconfirming the size of the transaction. It was a 2.5 lakh square feet transaction. Right? We were in touch with the healthcare company. The healthcare company said, we want a healthcare facility, we want this particular region of Bangalore. Right? We reasoned out with them as to why that region or why that zone. Then they said, okay, we are happy with an alternate zone also. So once we knew that what they wanted, we made our shortlist of developers who were also looking at a pre-leased transaction. It's important, like I said, it's important to know your customers very well. We did our research on the tenant who was coming in. What is their track record? Are they funded well? How many transactions have they done in the last 3 years? Because I'm committing to a developer. We approached our developers saying, such and such brand has come. They're looking for a build-to-suit hospital. Are you interested in healthcare? Very important to check, are you interested in healthcare? Because healthcare will not be the same as IT.
Sanctions are very different for the healthcare and hospital.
Yes, and they don't pay the same as IT. You've got a single tenant, full block, you will get anchor tenant rates. You will not get any other kind of rates. The developer said, very happy to look at it. Finally, what we ended up doing, the developer purchased the land by us, signed the bill to suit with the hospital through us. We did construction finance for the developer. Today the developer is sitting very pretty on that, and he says that they want to sell it. We will approach you to sell it. Because we held him through 3 stages of the same transaction. And this entire transaction with the documentation took about 7 months. 11 months. This entire transaction took 11 months to close.
A lot of government bodies get involved when you take sanctions.
It took 11 months to close. Right? So, large transactions, large gestation. Any other question?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Friends, I suppose we had a wonderful session from Sudhanshu. And Sudhanshu, anytime our doors are open for him and his doors are open for us. So any questions you all want, any links you all want, we can definitely connect with Sudhanshu. Now, property तो लिया, lease कैसे करेंगे भाई? तो definitely we need help. Vice President is going to introduce Karthik.
Today our keynote speaker for training program for is Mr. Karthik Krishnan, who is the director of KEYDEMAND. They have done transaction in over 50 cities and landmark transaction across retail, F&Bs, commercial office space, healthcare platform, portfolio management of corporates, landowners and developer nationwide. Please welcome Mr. Krishnan.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, I'm here to present how to lease intelligently. I think that's the key. I think over the last 16 years, being in the RE trade, especially commercial real estate, it's been a very interesting set of cycles that we've seen. With the India story growing every year, every 3 years, there's a sudden change. We're seeing a lot of developers change the started off with them being purely residential developers. A lot of them started to gain interest in retail. First step was always for residential, and this trend then when they became very good commercial developers, to name a few in the city, and the same trend continued in multiple other cities, the top 7-8 cities in the country. Now this aspirational class of developers and independent landowners to build good grade commercial assets, retail leasable, commercial leasable, and alternative asset class leasable, could be healthcare, could be hotels, various things. So I think we've seen over the last 20 years the commercial developer or a landowner who wants to build sustainable leasing assets have really come into shape. It used to be 1 or 2 developers in the 2005-6s in a place like Pune. Today you have at least about 50 to 20 such commercial assets. Some of them obviously would want to sell, a large chunk of them would want to sell, but we're slowly and surely seeing a lot of them start to only have leased portfolios, which is a good trend to see. And this lease portfolio then get probably sold to a single investor or a family office or a fund, HNIs, different way. So continuing from where Sudhanshu left, it's important as channel partners to such developers. How do we pose ourselves to close good sized leasing transactions? So just giving you a background of how the entire area developed, and now we can delve specifically into, let's say, how do we as channel partners to those developers or landowners, culminate lease deals, especially the larger lease deals. One needs to understand in commercial real estate, continuing from know your customer, which Sudhanshu delved upon, how do we actually find this customer first? In our experience, there are various ways to find this customer. Not what's on the slide, but I can explain to you. In the past, we've got customers through lawyers, because the first person a customer would approach when they would come set shop into India is to get themselves a lawyer. We've got our customers through lawyers, a lot of them. We've got our customers through architects, through networking consultants, through interior design consultants. So there are various channels in which you can acquire that client. So that's a very important aspect. So leasing is an environment. It is not done by just the consultant. There are at least 7 to 8 different agencies involved. So it generally is dependent on your interior person who suggests to the client whether to do what type of fit outs, what is the scope of work, how many seats they require, which is the way they need to maneuver their offices, and specifically in office. Similarly, in the case of a retail store, it's very important that an architect or interior designer gets involved. So these are primarily people who are involved in a transaction. As consultants, you would obviously show a property which will fit the bill, but then all the other bits also have to fall into place. The legality of the property, the viability of the property in order to fit a store, fit an office space, fit a healthcare center, fit a diagnostic clinic, fit a hospital, various, fit a hotel. So we've seen interesting these deals, but how the background in which you need to understand this is the fundamental of knowing your customer. A lease transaction is a very fluid one. Unless you get the right property, the customer will slip. Unless you understand the requirement, the customer will slip. So it's very important first research what the customer is. What are the past transactions? How are you able to maneuver this specifically to their budget? Okay, each customer, like a retail store would have a very, very different requirement compared to a footwear store. Okay, an F&B brand will have a different requirement compared to maybe a fast food brand. So it's a very, you have to know your customer, what have they done in the past, what are they looking to do in the future, and how are you able to maneuver around this and give them what they're looking for exactly. Knowing your customer is paramount, knowing their environment is also paramount, and knowing all the stakeholders involved in this transaction. These are the few things that are very, very crucial in the leasing transaction. So it could always be that, and we are seeing this of late, lawyers have become sort of the biggest impediments in transactions because they're very pinpricked about this transaction, this particular location, this completion certificate, this fire NOC. So it's very important to get all the stakeholders on your side. Otherwise, you might do the best transaction. Only the issue is that the transaction may not get culminated because one of the stakeholders is not aligned. So not only knowing your customer, it's also knowing other stakeholders who are involved in closing this transaction. So, of late we are seeing lawyers who don't understand processes and as a result create problems with the transactions also. And it becomes a huge problem because the client or the tenant wants to sign, the developer wants to sign, or the landowner wants to sign, but the lawyer doesn't let the transaction happen for their own reasons. And unfortunately, most lawyers have become very, very large and part of the process. So it's difficult to not align with them. So we give them various aspects of how the transaction can get closed, or are there various ways to secure both the client and the developer. So that's one thing, knowing your customer. I think the very, very important part in retail real estate, especially retail leasing, is finding the right option as per the requirement of the client and finding it very soon. Because there's a lot of competition, let's face it, and how are you able to differentiate yourself? You have to obviously have a relationship with the developer, relationship with the particular property owner, an HNI, client who owns a specific property, and your ability to convince that person that this retail brand or this hospitality brand or this office space client is best for that location. So that is a very, very important thing. And then you have to, suppose a client gives you a requirement, it's usually within 7 days you have to share the first set of options. And when I'm saying share options, it should be relevant options. If he is asking for property in Hinjewadi and you share something in Baner, the client is lost. So it is very important to understand what they want and share relevant options which will fit their criteria and requirement. So that's, I think, a very important aspect. And because of competition, we do find a lot of large brokerage houses. If the requirement is in Baner, they will spill over options across whole of Western Pune. May not be relevant because they just want to prove themselves, but I think fundamentally, if you are able to align yourself in terms of how that option should be sent, what is the relevant data that they're looking for, the data points. It's important to understand the geography that you're dealing with, the geography that the client wants to be in, and it's also important to know what is competition of that client, where are they present, what is the data points of that client. So those are things that are very important. It flows from knowing your customer. It is also about speed. That's the way to position yourself. You can be an authorized representative, or you can become one of the channel partners or a consultant to that, to that client. So if you want to grow to the stature of an authorized representative, you should have data on your side. I'm just giving an example. A fast food chain wants to open a 3,000 square feet, outlet. He should know, or you should know better than him, that what is competition doing? What are the numbers that they're doing there? How many lakhs per month is the outlet spinning? What is the rental that they are paying? Is the rental 10% of the revenue? Okay, you have that data armed with you. You can convince the other client that listen, this is, if it's 4 lakhs of rent and 40 lakhs of revenue, it's a good location for you. This is the number that he's doing. I think you should
get this data?
A lot of times, and believe me, when we say real estate is about being on the field, it really is being on the field. A lot of our time is spent actually in gathering this data and also making phone calls. So if you have a client who's let's say in the fast food chain, who's the manager of a fast food chain, or go down to that outlet in the vicinity, nobody's going to give you wrong data. Usually the data is about 5 to 10% of it, and it depends on which month they're operating in. But in general, you will find the data to be about 80 to 90% accurate. So if that is the case, then you obviously have to give that relevant data to competition. A lot of them already have their competitive data, but they may not have exact numbers. So it's important for you to get down to the ground and figure out this. So I'm saying a fast food chain, let's say, one of the seasoned fast food chains, American chain, they are also competition, which is other American chains or Indian chains. So there are about 5 or 6 in the market. Most of them, their price points, their data points, the rental figures are very, very available today. There's a lot of data that is available online as well, which can give you the mechanisms to use. But in general, we are seeing this trend where if you do this necessary amount of groundwork before, you will not lose a leasing client. It's very rare. If you're giving the relevant data, if you're giving the right property with the frontages, the specifications that they want, and you're giving them additional feedback from the market, usually the client is 90 to 95% of the time willing to go with you and close the transaction. So this is the trend that we're seeing. It's not just about showing the property. The crucial part is about giving or gathering data, market relevance, importance of the geography. Why should they be there? If a client asks me, why should they be in Baner and at that street? I should have at least 7 to 8 data points as to why that client should be in Baner and not in any other location apart from Baner. So this is the way the trend is going, and it's also important because if one of the competition is paid a rent at a certain point of time, 5 years back, it may not be relevant that the rent will be relevant today, 5 years later. So you have to look at inflation and you have to look at various data points to say, if 5 years earlier the rent was maybe 80 rupees a square foot, today with 5 years of inflation, it's positive still if you pay 110 rupees a square foot because you can gather that data. And and that be relatable to it. If they at 80 rupees a square foot, they were doing 50 lakhs of revenue a month. Today at 110 rupees a square foot, you can expect to do 60 to 65 lakhs of revenue a month. So I'm saying data is obviously progressive. Basis the numbers that you can actually showcase. So, and this is very market driven. Inflation also takes revenues up. So it's very, very relevant. And that's how we've been seeing a lot of data fundamental work. As I was talking about research, so the research side of it is the crucial part. But I think in terms of leasing, especially office space, we're seeing technically it's very, very important. You need to know how many workstations will work for your client. Today, our clients interested in managed space or they're interested in conventional space. We're seeing transactions happen both ways. A lot of clients, who have their own conventional space because of the pandemic, wanted to move into managed space because they say, oh, I don't want to do the admin function anymore. So, if you don't want to do the admin function, is it worthwhile your time to just remove that function from your entire office and move to a managed facility? What are the cost savings? How many employees are you going to lose if you move from point A to point B? What are the average timelines for an employee to reach your office? Employee productivity. It's very crucial today. With today's trend of the younger generation, they will not travel more than half an hour to reach their office. Or you're not going to find that person employed anymore in your office. So this is a continual trend that we're seeing, and this is across the 7, 8, 10 cities that we're seeing. A lot of them moved back to their hometowns just to bring those people back into the same 7 cities. It's taking an arm and a leg for large corporates. So this data technically is very, very important for office spaces. Similarly on retail, on F&B, it's developers, during the last 2 years had gotten a lot desperate because space was not being leased. Today, it's a turn of the tide. They have the space, a lot of requirements. So how do you manage expectations? A, set the developer precedent right. B, set the tenant precedent right, because tenants will say, oh, the space has been empty for 2 years or 3 years. Relevance is it empty today, or are there 10 other people talking to the same developer? How do you this positioning is the most crucial part. Leasing is only happening where the ideology of taking the space, finding the tenant who's suitable for the space, convincing the developer that this tenant is relevant to you. A, is he going to be short term? Is he going to be long term? I was talking to the Russians earlier. I was telling him, if a client is looking at long term and he is willing to pay 20% lower rental than the market, but if he's investing 25 crore rupees in your property, only a mad developer will let go of such a client. So I think the most important aspect is to convince the developer from a long-term perspective. Also, a lot of developers in a city like Pune would want to lease and then sell the space. So if you're able to position that intelligently and tell him, listen, the rent might be 10% lower, but he's giving you a longer lock-in period. That means a client who is willing to pay you, let's say 8% for this property, would be comfortable to pay you 7% because he knows it's a 5-year lock-in period. So to position the deal in such a manner where it's amicable for the developer, comes down on the rental, it makes sense for the client, so both ends respected. And there are a lot of transactions we've seen over the years. F&B is a classic case we've seen. It's people want to open 6 microbreweries next to each other. Nobody has logic. Finally, 5 fail, only 1 survive. The one who survives is the one who's with the lowest rental. So it is always important to realize this. And Pune, I know specifically because at any one point in time on the F&B side, one person finds a concept and then 5 others follow. So it's crucial to know what technical data also will help them assess the location. And this has happened, right? We've seen so many brands burn money. Microbrewery is a classic case. There are several of these I can give examples over the last 16 years we've viewed. And some of them we've actually given data and told them don't do it. And they've still gone and burned 16 crores in our product. So it's unfortunate, but you see a lot more people who lose money than actually gain money. So it's important as a, from the consulting viewpoint, to give them your best and then give it. Sometimes the client wants to take space, you can't do anything, but to give relevant data points is very, very crucial. Another very important thing that we've been seeing as a trend, to good, nothing wrong with Indian companies, but their financial, typically most Indian companies financially plan only 6 months ahead of time. Let's say I'm a US client, okay, I'm a company wants to lease office space, or I want to lease retail space, or I'm a European client. I've planned 6 to 7 years in advance. So if I'm giving a lock-in period of 3 years for a property, the entire 3 years rental for that space is kept aside in a separate bank account. And this is a crucial differentiator that you can use as leverage to sign that client with a developer or a landowner or a property owner. Majority of the times, an MNC would keep this money aside. They will not try to get this money from, let's say, a retail store's revenues, or let us say an office space, what are the revenues of that company in that particular region. They always set aside this and they keep it on the balance sheet to pay. So this is another aspect that I think a lot of people in this room would not know, which I'm sharing because this is important for you all to use. This is an important tool that you can use to talk to a developer or a property owner. Saying, good company, all money in bank account, good lock-in periods, please do the deal because I think you're going to lose out. So those aspects. Needless to say, documentation. I think 70% of the transactions today are failing not because of commercial closure, they're failing because of documentation. Most developers in large cities ignore the basics. And today, one of the most important aspects is, getting the property in a right-oriented manner. Is it ESG compliant? The minute I say, is it ESG compliant, everybody, not only here, even in the developer fraternity, till COVID would look at it with blank face. So I have to explain what ESG means. So it's about environment sustainability. Very, very crucial aspect. I wouldn't want to name the developer, but a large developer who sold a big chunk of real estate in Bangalore, 50% of his money was stuck with the fund because norm in the world was floated in all the commercial portfolio. It took them 9 months to fix 78 trouble points in their entire portfolio, and though the transaction was close to 10,000 crores, they only got paid half of that until everything was fixed, including some of the plan sanctions were not done for properties where the building. So very, very, everybody thinks that this is all, here say ESG, put green building over there, everything will go. No, it's not. Every client, office space or retail today is looking at environment sustainability. And it's a very, very important aspect. Green buildings today get 20% higher rentals, and this is true. You can check the numbers. Every green building in India today is getting 20% higher rentals than the market. So you have to sometimes educate your developer saying it's not about putting solar panels on the rooftop. It's about making sure the rainwater harvesting is done properly. Not about just putting some filtration mechanism, but seeing things are actually done on the ground. So these are certain aspects that one needs to know. Environmental sustainability, documentation. The property has a completion certificate. Is it actually commercially, sanctioned? Or most developers do commercial sanction on the ground floor and then they do whatever they want on the upper floors. This is particular to Bangalore also, so where I come from. And
so I think I have a question. Like what all we are talking about the BTS transactions, due diligence, documentation. With my experience in BTS and in commercials, or even with your experience, mostly, closing commercials are much easier. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Closing is only 10% of the work.
10% of the work.
Absolutely.
But the challenge comes in terms of due diligence, timely documents delivery.
Absolutely.
Time taken by the landlord, time taken by the both the solicitors, then their ego gets hurt when we give any inputs, right? So what happened in this turnaround time took about 4 months to 6 months to 12 months.
Easy. You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
तब तक नहीं मिलता जब तक कि उनका रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं.
Correct. Absolutely. सही बोल रहे हो. Fact of life.
Relevant बात हो. कितनी इंटेलिजेंस लगाना. Ultimately, title search and all is not your responsibility.
नहीं, but it is now.
But then, at the end, like me and Satish, we were working on a 2 lakh square feet BTS transaction. Everything was done. Commercial took us about 2 weeks to complete. Right. 4th month, we came to know that the title has the defect.
Totally understand. I tell you, there are over.
The title has a defect. But then, see, as a broker fraternity, what we are, what I wanted to put it in the right way is like that there should be a retailership fee. You got my point, sir?
Absolutely, I get your point.
See, ultimately JLL ho, Cushman ho, or any group field, any broker, they are getting paid by their company. They are not getting paid by their association or CII or FICCI or anyone.
True.
So my point of view is, after losing 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, firstly, commercial is not viable. I have done a transaction where, now after 9 months they are saying, sir, the commercials are not viable because the VAT rates are gone. Construction rates are gone.
Yes.
So,
it's constant. This whole phenomenon is evolving. So, it is, I'll tell you, the only way to secure yourself, the only way.
Yeah, so it's evolving, but at the end, it's a frustrating one.
It is very frustrating.
Very frustrating.
आपके फिल्म में आना है या नहीं आना?
बिल्कुल आना है.
So, it's a very interesting point. I want to actually touch upon this.
So, retailership fee.
Absolutely.
How we can evolve during okay boss चल ठीक है मैंने 8 महीना 9 महीना दिया. What is my time involved, money involved, lot of efforts involved.
Can I tell you a simple thing?
Yeah.
Me and Sudhanshu never used to sign a mandate earlier for whatever transaction. Then years later, one of our friends came to our office saying that, these are all your transactions, where are your mandates? I don't want to tell the authority name, but the central government authority came to our office. So we were like, where is it written in your rules that you have to have this mandate? They said, if you are getting an invoice, it has to be preceded by a mandate. Now, for every transaction, first send the mandate, get it signed before you propose the transaction. So, to solve your specific issue, if you put things in the mandate and sign something called a drop dead fee or a retainer fee, you will protect yourself because these transactions are mind-numbing and I've done lots of them. I continue to do a lot of them. 50% of the time they're failures, but it's about serving a client. So you keep doing it till the fact that you burn yourself down. But it's the only way to secure yourself is to sign a mandate before you start the transaction because worst case if I put in 9 months time, I'm at least getting paid, for my kharcha and money to go to the offices and come back.
Exactly.
You're right. No, it's important because, one second. Have I answered your thing? Please secure yourself. Don't be at the developer or mercy or anything.
No.
Please secure yourself.
Well, it is aligned to that itself. When you say signing a mandate, right? How comfortable these owners are to sign a mandate? Because if I'm transacting a 50 crore property, is he readily acceptable to sign a mandate?
No, so you're signing a mandate specifically to the client that you brought in, okay, not to everybody in the market.
Okay.
He may not give you a mandate beyond the A, B, C clients that you introduced to him.
Okay.
If you say I want an exclusive mandate, that's different. I mean, that's obviously your relationship with the developer or a landowner. It's your comfort with them or their comfort with you to sign such an. We have done that also, exclusive mandates as well. But important part is to figure out a drop dead fee or a retainership fee. Even if you put in all the hard work and sometimes the transaction doesn't happen. And recently we've been privy to this. How classically a leasing transaction not done well cost us a transaction on a pre-tenanted leased asset. It's one of the leading paid funds in the country. And why I tell you is because sometimes developers might be very good, and this is with a leading developer. I have done 20 transactions, with the 21st failed because his lease deed was not done properly and completely one-sided. So sometimes it's also the leasing guys in that company don't know what they're doing, and they sign something totally out of bounds because it's a pandemic. So I've done this work for you. Neither is the developer go through the lease deed because he's stuck with some wedding or something. And today, that one asset has cost him about 25 crore rupees because he's ignored looking at the lease deed, thinking someone else will do a better job. So, long story short, I'm saying signing a mandate is very important because you're securing yourself. And today, if you don't sign a mandate, they are free to do whatever they want with your client works.
No, well, I got confused between getting an exclusive mandate and mandate for a
So, mandates could be various. It could be exclusive to the client that you brought,
right,
or it could be a mandate that you're signing for any client that you bring in.
Right.
And you're getting an X percentage of the deal, or a fixed fee, or a retainer fee, various things.
Right.
So, it's important to sign a mandate or a fee letter. The easiest thing to do is a fee letter. So documentation, I think, is the crucial part. Assisting this documentation has become very, very important. Today, I think the side of the documentation has become crazy because whether it is leasing transaction to any corporate, all lawyers are going through needles and pinpricks and documentation. So it's crucial that you understand this aspect before throw a curveball at anyone. And we've seen this happening far too much of late. Last 2 years has taught us, especially all compliances, I know a transaction which one of us lost in Bangalore because rainwater harvesting NOC was not there. Can you imagine? And the client was saying, I will not sign without this being done. The property is ready, the operator should not give you rainwater harvesting because you have not done it. So people are losing transactions because rainwater harvesting. So I'm just telling you, it's important. So very crucial aspect is how do you manage expectations? Retail, all retailers are still in pandemic phase. All landowners are in pre-pandemic phase or post-pandemic phase. So how do you manage that? Everybody wants to lease at, all retailers want to lease some 100 rupees a square foot. Every developer wants 200 rupees a square foot because he thinks it's gold mine. So how do you manage that expectation? Same thing with office space. All office space today is expecting 8 months of rent-free period, clients. So I said, you want the developer to live or not live? You can't expect that anymore. But unfortunately, because the developer wants to sign the client, they're bending backwards. And it's happening because large brokers are pushing it. How do you make the difference? You have to convince both parties and equity to come to the negotiating table and to be practical about certain things. So these are things that I'm giving you out of what we are doing on a daily basis. It depends how desperate the developer is, how bad the market is. We honestly don't see India as a bad market on the commercial. It's actually one of the best performing markets in the world. 47 million square feet of leasing happening across the board. I don't think there's enough supply in each market to sustain this. There will come a time developers will be, getting the better of it. Today, obviously, tenants or retailers or office-based clients are benefiting from it. Leasing will come back very, very strongly. This country is driven by internal consumption as much as it's driven by MNCs and external consumption. So we'll see a strong, fallback. Now, the world is in recession, whether it's the US, whether it's Europe, they're all in 2 to 3 years of recessionary trend. But in spite of this, I think commercial real estate has stood the test of time. Residential sales have been at all-time highs in this country. Never seen these kind of residential sales anywhere. Pune is the second largest residential market in the country after Delhi NCR. Almost about 65,000 residential units a year. It's bigger than Bangalore and Mumbai or something. So, as far as you're seeing trends of these sort keep continuously pushing the envelope, commercial leasing is here to stay. And commercial leasing is only going to grow. But these are aspects that are very crucial for you to get your lease deed done. To ensure that your client, both the developer and the tenant, are getting the best of it, which is there in the market. there's always going to be a 10% or 20% variation between expectation, demand, all in supply. But how do you manage this and bring everyone back? Everybody wants to get new things put in. Fire NOC नहीं देंगे तो नहीं करेंगे. If you don't have a building which is more than 15 meters, you don't need a fire NOC. Most people don't understand this. But you have to be relevant to them, to tell them, unless you are a hospital, you don't need a fire NOC for buildings which are below 15 meters. So these are things that you have to get them back to the drawing board, explain to them logic and tell them. Sometimes the logic may not be working directly from you as a channel partner. You have to relay the logic through a lawyer, you have to relay the logic through an interior designer, various people who are a part of the leasing process. So, and I believe this is one virtue that all of us should have in this room, because without patience, we won't be here as consultants. Sometimes you either feel like pulling your hair or feel like pulling your client's hair. So just be patient. I think in leasing, you always realize that who breaks first. Either the developer breaks first, saying I'm agreeing to this, or a tenant breaks because he has no option but to lease this place. So we have to keep patient and don't support either. Bring them to the midway point. Yeah.
Since I've seen your portfolio and you are majorly active into retail transactions, so you know most of the big brands, we say, let's say Pan India or Pan Global, whatever, they are very bullish about the rentals. Though major times you must have found it, developer ठीक मांग रहा है, लेकिन ना ये 100 का 50 मांगने आ जाते हैं. So how you handle that gap? That is very pinching one, where most of the transaction goes to south.
So again logic. So I won't name the brand, a very big brand of a big brand, and 7 consultants showed a property. We were the 8th. There was no logic, but to explain to them transactions in the vicinity, where retailers are doing, what numbers they're doing, and since you're in the same fraternity, you can check with these 5 brands. They checked with these 5 brands and they said, range between 1.5 to 2.5 crores for the size of the property. Because for them expectation is what, I'm not going to pay more than 10 lakhs of rent. Then we said, you're saying 10 lakhs of rent because you're expecting to do only 1 crore of business. But trust us that this location, and we have done 5 other brands, all of them are doing 2 crore revenue. Now, basis 2 crore, you take conservative estimate, you want to do only 1.5 crore. Now come to the table and sit down. Against the 1.5 crore, pay 14 lakhs of rent. It took one sitting to convince the client. All 7 consultants before us were trying to convince the landlord. Didn't work. So this is the challenge. What is happening is you are trying to only push the envelope on one side. It needs logic, needs representation of what is the actual commercial on the table and why a landlord is asking. And believe that the client today can actually take that business from 1.5 crore to 2 crores because market data is there. And from day one, that place has not done less than 2 crores of business. So today, he's at a 7% metric of rent to revenue. But it took some time to make him believe that he has to see that. And a lot of convincing because then we have to call other retailers and tell them, listen, call is going to come to you. Figure out what you want to tell him.
So data and number are the keys, the crucial factors.
It's about structuring it properly. In spite of this, what happens, there's a lot of fight when project teams get on board. And at that time, one guy will say this flooring, that guy will say that elevator, everybody has their own cushion. So since there are a lot of fights and you all get paid only once the lease deal is registered, as our friend just said. So till then, we're all in that quandary. But how we have to structure is you have to explain the logic and then you also don't try to push the deal on one day. Never. You have to give them time to think. If you're not giving them time to think, they will make you think for them. You push the deal logic by logic, give them 3 days time, then again attack. That's the only way to do it. And it's crucial because they also can go back, convince their big bosses that this is the way to do it, these are the numbers, I've got market data, Once you substantiate data, there's no reason why they will not do the transaction. So just to, and important is, you send data to a client, please do the follow-ups. Because we're seeing a lot of data being used by somebody else instead. So please follow up timely. If you're sending something to a client, 48 hours later you need to follow up, no matter what. However busy you are, either send an email or a follow-up or a message. Follow-ups are very crucial. Leasing transaction, needless to say, that first week between seeing the property and finalizing or aligning the commercials is the most crucial part. So follow-ups have to be absolutely bang on the commentary. So that's other value-added services like licensing, lease rent discounting, lease, fit-outs. There are a lot of clients today who will say no landowner is going to invest in fit-outs. But a lot of landowners today suddenly have money. They're saying, why should I give my property to managed spaces? I will only do the fit-outs. So we have to find those guys. So closing transactions today have not become difficult. It's about you trying to position what's good for a developer or a client, how to bring them together, and as I was telling, various things about lock-in periods, MNCs having keeping that money aside. So various aspects come to it. So also a lot of value-added services. So why I'm saying value-added services, sometimes the client doesn't want to use a lawyer. So you can actually be his lawyer and guide him in the right principles of doing a lease deal. It may not be 100% relevant to what a lawyer is asking for, but the basics are covered. If lock-in periods are covered, force majeure conditions are covered, termination conditions are covered. See, crucial aspects where they should feel that the inputs are valid and ability to convince both developer and landowner is with you, then most transactions will fall in place. Sometimes it also happens that lawyer keeps giving these value-added services which are not needed, but unfortunate in the situation. So the value add that you can bring to the transaction, as Sudhanshu was talking about earlier, if you're able to structure, bringing funding, bringing build to suit, bringing a lot of things together, 3-4 aspects which a developer finds difficult. If you're able to stitch all those things to it, same thing in leasing also. If you're able to bring the client relevant property, give the the legality points, what is valid, what is not valid. I think usually when you stitch this transaction in a wholesome manner, with inputs from all the other stakeholders in the transaction will happen. It might be, you have to have a little more patience in the larger deal. In commercial real estate, you have patience to stitch things in properly, to keep both people into the transaction. Because minute one goes away from the transaction or finds a better property, usually the transaction again goes back to scratch. So it's about holding, and the crucial first 2 to 3 weeks in a transaction is most crucial. If you're able to modulate this in a proper manner and bring all parameters to the closure, 99% of the time the transaction will go through. Of course, as our friend said, until the lease deed is done, nobody can guarantee anything. So we've had recent transactions where lawyers do not know how to do lease deed registration. First time I'm actually going through this process myself. And because of the lawyer not knowing how to do lease deed, 8 weeks we didn't get paid. So it's stupid, but this is part of life. It's a learning curve. And this in spite of us knowing how to do lease deed registration, but client is saying only lawyers should do lease deeds. It happens. Yeah.
Are you seeing the pandemic clause and rental discounting at a later stage?
Yeah, it's a standard. We've put epidemic and pandemic into force majeure, but with a certain rider that in case anything happens and they're not utilizing the property, they're unable to utilize the property, then they don't need to pay rent continuously for 2 weeks and plus. But the rider is only this is government related. You cannot decide government is saying something else and you are not utilizing the property, you don't want to pay rent. In office case, classic case I tell you, and one Bangalore developer put the spoke in this and everybody followed suit across the country. He said, fine, don't pay me rent, but I'm going to shut your server down. Next morning the rent was there. Large, very large MNC. Having millions of square feet in India. Next morning they paid every client across the country. Because they said, the server doesn't know how to operate. So it's how do you position yourself? So developer was smart. He said, okay, fine, don't pay me rent. I'm shutting down my server. Property is mine. You can't do anything. If you are not paying me rent, you don't enter my property. So yeah, it is about how you position. So same thing, pandemic. 14 days you can't utilize the property and government has declared the fact that you can't utilize the property. Then you have to give a waiver to them. Because it's government, then government is saying you can't occupy the property. Not only whims and fancy. Your server can operate there. People can operate from home. Your business is absolutely normal and you still don't pay rent. And that's a problem. So all these things over the last 2-3 years we've also learned hardships. And now I think all of us have gotten more intelligent with pandemic clauses and force measure. And a lot of people didn't know what force measure was. Now I think that aspect everybody knows in the room. Yeah. So I'm going to hand it over back to Sudhanshu. Any questions before?
Karthik, about this leasing part, on the retail front, there is some issue with the kickbacks. So how do you counter that?
It's the biggest challenge in this country. I can tell you that. And I think it's been
Because that side of the portion they want to keep, they want to take something from this side also.
Sir, I totally get where you're coming from, and somehow, being very honest, we've totally shied away from that and we've lost a lot of business because of it. And we continue to lose a lot of business. Because sometimes you have to realize which way you would want to go. So we actually stopped working with a lot of brands who have been habituated to this. And there's something that we created, KEYDEMAND, which will make every company realize where they're losing money. So it's a very important aspect. I think we will touch base on how today we're actually for a brand. What we've created is immensely useful because a BD head can really figure out what rental is paying for a specific location because he doesn't have any data on. Unfortunately, in this country, if a tenant is paying 110 rupees a square foot, then next door landlord wants 120 rupees a square foot. That's not benchmark at all. The benchmark is what is the revenue and how much rent you can pay based on the revenue. Absolutely. And retailers went the other way in the pandemic. They took everything developer down to that number. Today, it's going back and forth. And unfortunately, BD teams in every retail brand, office space is no better. Go through the same churn. One real estate person is in one office space company. 3 years later, is in a different office space company. Same trend continues.
And later on, he becomes a consultant himself. Sometime later.
No, most retail BD people in retail teams across the country are consultants themselves. So it's unfortunate. I think things are here to change. We've also seen a lot of people being let go of late because of this trend. I think this cleanup is bound to happen. It's a matter of time. But for our famous friend Simpson Bombay, who propagated this entire trend years ago, I think unfortunate, but being the largest retailer in the country. But I think if things, systemically, if change happens from us, then there will be no option.
But unfortunately, the volumes that these guys bring are very big.
Yes.
The requirements
Sometimes, as a group, I'm saying if prop can take this up, it will be very valid because eventually you have to realize that consolidated, you will lose business. Because one of us here is going that route. It will hurt others and it will hurt themselves in the long run. We've seen this, and to be sustainable in this business, in the long-term basis, we definitely feel that if you don't do, you'll actually come out victorious.
Earlier there was a lack of transparency.
Yes.
Okay. Over there is a lot of joy and chaos. There was a lot of chaos. That transparency is now coming into the system. Right. Practices of the past are moving out slowly. We cannot say it is still there, not there, but there was a lot of lack of transparency earlier, which is now getting resolved.
And this can happen across the board. So I won't blame only retail, I would say. Every area has this lack of
even commercial.
Commercial real estate is very large. You'll find it in all sectors. What I would say the best thing to do is then work with somebody at the MD or the CEO level. In most cases, you will not find issues there. And if you actually come to top down, we usually do that. Wherever we do, we consult directly the MD or the CEO. And we come top down, so the chances of this happening is 80% knocked off there.
Yeah.
80% of the time. Because you will not find majority of the guys in the top doing this. It's the next level, the next rung, the next rung.
the
which
lower
happens
level guys.
basically. So
They do it.
if you come top down approach, you will not find these issues. So maybe it's a good starting point. So I'll hand over the session next to.
Thank you, Karthik. Friends, I know this is a vast subject, but thanks to both the gentlemen who have really covered it very well as such. Now, a very big thing for Prop and NAR India. To introduce key demands to all of us.
Thank you, Darshanji. So actually, before we start the introduction of KEYDEMAND, okay, just generally asking everybody in this room, right? We are seeing, there are a lot of channel partners in the country, lots, but there is only a fraction of them who are focused on commercial real estate. Despite the fact that commercial real estate is probably 2.5-3 times of the residential market, considered higher in value than the residential market. Raises a couple of questions. Why are channel partners not focusing on commercial real estate? Why are they preferring residential real estate over commercial real estate? Right? People may be thinking why. So, can I open the room, ask a couple of people, why do you think you have more channel partners in residential real estate rather than commercial real estate?
Easy to get clients.
Easy to get clients.
Lack of knowledge also. Documentation.
Documentation.
Quick deal.
Quick deal.
Lot of IPCs are driving that.
Okay, I'll go back to one slide which says 52% of the market is under 20,000 square feet. There are a lot of myths. Yeah. Because we've not tried. We've heard it from others saying, "Boss, ये तो पूरा corporate channel partners का ही है." So we've not tried it. Right? But one other thing which Kirti said out here, demanding is that. Right? Because residential is easier to get it.
One more factor which drives the whole thing, that is the transaction time, 3 to 6 months. Rather, sometimes it goes to 9 months, and you must have that kind of patience to conclude that.
Agreed. Why does it take 3 to 6 months?
That is the.
Why does it take 3 to 6 months?
Everything. Starting from showcasing the property, shortlisting, due diligence, every technicality.
Agreed. Can you go to the next slide? Any other points which I missed out there?
I given a place to Reserve Bank of India, 40,000 square feet in Mane. And it took me 7 months to complete the due diligence. After I done from 2 of the India's topmost advocates, I done due diligence. And then I did the negotiation. And after that, out of which 3 months when they told me, tell me who is my hierarchy in this. So I had to tell them own hierarchy over there. In Reserve Bank of India to finalize the thing. And so I had 3 months of knowing who the hierarchy. But one good thing was there that in the community, I don't have to pay a single rupee out of pocket, not even a cup.
Was 7 months worth
I
it?
want to be very clear, I don't pay even no charge.
Sir, was 7 months worth it?
Yeah, it was worth it.
It was worth it, right?
Because we got the label of Reserve Bank of India.
Not only that, sir, was the brokerage worth it?
Yeah, it was.
So, higher patience, higher rewards, sometimes higher rewards.
And very good because we got to reach to the topmost financial institutions in the country.
So that's what, commercial real estate does take more time. Okay? We are not telling people don't do residential. But why are you ignoring commercial real estate?
Basically, sir, this is
the knowledge factor only.
Knowledge
So
factor.
it instigates a confidence.
Data. Okay. So Karthik, can you go to the next slide? Sorry, I put two Kartiks on the table.
Yeah. So, one more very important transaction I want to tell you. I'll name the client also, but I don't want to hide it. I done a deal with Reliance. It was of 30,000 square feet. And there were, after due diligence was complete, after due diligence, they did 4 rounds of negotiations. Every 15 days when I go to the office, they will negotiate. And then they said, sir, ये GM ने किया है, अभी ये VP ने नहीं किया, sir बद्री ने नहीं किया, sir मुकेश सर ने कुछ देखा ही नहीं.
These are,
and at the end,
these are standard thing with certain brands, not with all. Let's not say these are
there were 4 times they did negotiations after completing the due diligence. I said that first you should have completed negotiations, then the due diligence.
Sir, which year was this?
This was around 7-8 years back.
7-8 years.
Yeah, and you know the good thing was that every time I went with them, they had once they had offered me lunch in one of the most. And then the last time they had in one of the top resorts in the country, but the evidence was reduced by so at that time, you know, but was Reliance's figure.
I can at least tell you, finalize the transaction realized in that time. Hats off to you. That is the biggest thing that you achieved, I think. So, I don't want to name, but there was a certain gentleman on the top of Reliance, unfortunately, who's still there, very much. Somebody from one place in Andhra Pradesh went to him and they said, this is your team, this is what they're doing. The only thing he said is, so what? He said, I have authorized. That's how the company is. Unfortunately.
No, so negotiations are difficult, negotiations are tough. Everybody does different way of negotiation, right? We may not be happy with it, but they are happy it's working for them. Right? We get to choose our clients. But coming back to the point, right? What if we have only a handful of clients? How do you choose them? Can you ignore? So, coming to some of the points which we discussed as to why commercial real estate is getting ignored by channel partners. Okay? No or little access to demand. Don't know what information is required. Data. Myth about exclusivity. Developer says, कि developer ने बेच दिया. बेचा मगर lease तो करेगा ना बाद में. Limited or no option for online B2B. Is there, does anybody know a PropTech which is for commercial real estate today? For residential? Is everybody using residential PropTech today? Or most? Nobody on the commercial side who's using PropTech? So these are the challenges which I thought, we've been brainstorming that why channel partners are not doing commercial real estate. Karthik and me have actually been doing only commercial real estate. We have never done residential real estate. So it was a little easier for us to come up with some of these things as to why our colleagues are not using or doing commercial real estate.
For the last 17 years, we've been doing commercial.
Only commercial.
We've never done a residential transaction in our entire career.
Right, we see.
There are very few.
The big brands are going to the big houses.
Not necessarily.
How does the inquiry float in the market, or how is it?
So one thing I'll tell you, retail. You're talking about retail, right?
Any big brand.
Okay, retail is 100% non-exclusive. Retail is always first come first serve. So any large consultant telling you that this is my exclusivity is not true. Retail is always first come first serve basis
Across the country.
across the country. You go to any brand today and say, who is your representative? I have got this property. Which corporate consultant can I go to? They will say, nobody has exclusivity. You can also submit it to us. Yes, we do pass through quality checks. We want pedigree of information, we want pedigree of consultant because we don't want to waste our time. As much as Kishan sir said, there is some kind of corruption in the system. Okay, brands are also saying because there are bogus properties being put up by consultants, so I don't have time to waste.
It's both ways.
It is both ways, right? There are two sides of the coin. But today if somebody says that retail is exclusive to a single person, not true.
But I don't think any retailer in the country has given exclusivity to any IPC or any consultant.
Okay,
So it's
52% of the market is under 20,000 square feet. Very good chance it is not mandated. It is not exclusive.
And modest affiliate mandated office space also is limited to only 20% of the market. So there's a huge market, almost 80% plus, which is totally not mandated. So when one of our friends here has done work with affiliate, they are not giving mandate to any IPC or any consultant. Okay, neither have they offered him a cup of coffee, you can imagine. So sometimes government agencies are also really good to deal with, banks, and they're all very open-ended. So, you know what I'm saying, even commercial real estate, office space, for example, is only 20% mandated. In the Western world, they are 80% mandated because for them, tenant representation is a very important aspect. It has not reached that level here, but it's on the up. So, if you are going to be dealing with an office space for a startup, for example, and the promoter likes you, obviously, every office that he moves in any part of the country, he wants you to represent him because that's called tenant representation. And that's continuously going up. So, so this is an aspect that everyone should know. Only 20% is actually exclusively mandated business. This is also only globally mandated that comes out of any of the Western or Eastern countries that they're emanating from. Mandate is one not in India, but in those places.
Yeah.
Very few mandates in India, one exclusively over here.
India has more channel partners in some countries' population. So, yes sir.
See, one of the challenges is that what happens is more than mandated, if you try track, CBRE, these people have between 600 to 2200 people working in Pune. Be it FM, be it this, and the channel partners that employees that we have.
Can you allow us 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to answer all these questions.
Yeah.
On this stage without even you asking these questions. Because this is exactly why we have created KEYDEMAND. Exactly why we have created KEYDEMAND. Because there are a lot of myths, there are a lot of issues which we have tried to bring to a platform. So make it neutral and putting everybody at equal, whether it is a corporate channel partner or an individual channel partner. At the end of the day, we are all here to do trade. Honest trade. You have it. Sure, thank you. Yeah. So coming back to something very, very simple, okay? When it's coming to commercial real estate, most of the channel partners have come back with a very simple thing, okay? Demand is the key. Demand nahi mil raha hai. For everything, isn't demand the key? Whether I am selling bhelpuri or I am doing leasing, isn't demand the key?
It is.
Right? That's the reason we came up with this word key demand. Because demand is the key for everybody. Today when we are talking about certain PropTechs, right, it is not working in that manner. Commercial PropTech does not exist. So for the first time what we did is, we brought in commercial PropTech and what our aim out here is to get demand to you. We are listing inventories on PropTechs, waiting for customers to click on our inventory. Right? It is like going to a supermarket. मैंने सामान रख दिया वहाँ पे, अभी visible होएगा ना, तो somebody will pick it up. But I am paying for that listing. Now it's all dependent upon visibility. Right? So what happens in a supermarket? 10,000 people have entered. 50 have seen your product, picked it, seen it, either taken it or put it back. But 9,950 people have missed your product. But you have paid for them. That's an opportunity loss of 99%. We have done this research as channel partners. We lose 99.5% opportunities. The other thing, now look at it from a buyer's perspective. First of all, he does not have an online option. There is no online option for commercial real estate today. Right? Where does he go? We don't want to do commercial. They will go to the larger ones. because we don't want to do it. We are not doing it. So we are actually wanting people to do more commercial real estate transactions. The idea is to actually ask people to do more commercial real estate transactions. So what we've done is created something which we are calling KEYDEMAND. It's nothing but a demand aggregation platform. We are doing the business development for our channel partners. We are doing the business development for our developers. We are going to the corporate houses, whether they are listed footwear companies, apparel companies, banks, everybody. If we want to lease our properties or trade in our inventory, these corporates also want to expand their presence. Somebody told they want 2,000 stores across the country over the next 3 years. कैसे करेगा? It is people like us only who are going to do it. There's not one individual who can say I do want 2,000 feet. It is people like us who have to make it possible. Our agenda is to get those 2,000 requirements at your fingertips. If you have the inventory, you service it. If you have the data, so we've gone a step further. So now we will just take you quickly through 5 slides, and then we'll take you quickly through 5-minute demo of the product. You want to do the demo first? Okay, we'll go through the 5 slides quickly. Okay, so this is what KEYDEMAND looks like, right? On the top, you are seeing get access to top demands by their requirements. I'm a footwear store. Okay, I have these requirements. So these are sample brands. These are not actual brands. For our presentation, use sample brands. Okay. So you've got a coffee shop. Say, I want 25 stores across the country. You can click on that. See, okay, these are 25 stores they want across the country. How much do they want in Pune? Click on Pune. See, okay, this guy wants it in Baner. Coincidentally, I have got 3 properties in Baner. One of them fits the requirement. Once you click on that button, you will be able to see a detailed requirement. Somebody said, data nahi malum kya chahiye usko. We've actually gone to the extent of taking from the brand, this is the data he wants. So you know from the very beginning whether you have that data or you need to collect that data. You don't even submit the property from that. By giving the complete data, the slides we covered before that, what are we showing? I have control on the property. Right? I'm being able to service your requirement quickly, efficiently. Chances of closure are higher. I've got transparency. It's been put online. It's been shown to the hierarchy in the company. This was submitted by XYZ. Kishan ji has the transparency nahi. This is bringing transparency into the system. The visibility is as per relevancy. We'll come to all of that later. We were just talking about detailed requirement. Out here, because of the light, you cannot see. Yeah. But the brand has up to 35 requirements, which he can choose. Yeah, I want 20 out of this 35 to consider your property. A lot of times we don't know उसको चाहिए क्या. हम बोल देंगे बानेर में है 1000 स्क्वायर फीट का है ये फ्रंटेज है. That doesn't close it for him. ये रेंटल है. That does not close it for him. He wants to know what is the square feet in frontage. He wants to know the clear ceiling height. He wants to know the width of the road in front of it. Right? He wants to know many things which are technical in nature. We don't know that. So we have access to that information. We just don't know submit kya karna hai usko. And that's the reason we fail out there. And this is all, nothing is rocket science. Nothing at all is rocket science. This is our 16 years of experience put out here. What we are trying to do here is make it possible for everybody. So one of the channel partners taught me that. I suppose you guys are enablers. This is an enabling platform. We want to be an enabling platform. Yeah. So one thing which our system is doing very clearly, I was explaining to Vivek earlier, right? As a channel partner, if you're doing commercial real estate, you may have up to 20, 50, 100 inventory. अभी एक requirement है. This is scratching my head. I know है मेरे पास. Now I will see which one out of them are relevant to that.
What our system is doing is something very simple. We are putting the inventory, once you put the inventory online, first of all, against every inventory, the system will tell you this is the relevant matching demand for it. And it will show you in series of relevancy. This is 80% relevant. Again, because of the light, we cannot show it. Out here it is showing that this is 90% relevant to my inventory. Every time somebody submits a demand in your region, right, you will get a notification saying XYZ brand has submitted a demand in your region. Our idea is for you to be able to service that quickly. First come, first serve. Right? First come, first serve. Similarly, when a brand logs onto the platform and submits a requirement, it gets to see what are the relevant matching inventory on the site. We have done some research on this. Every channel partner's inventory which they put onto the site is exclusively visible only to them. You will not know what Kishanji has put on the platform. Kishanji will not know what Darshanji has put on the platform. It is visible only to you. Again, we did our research, okay? Inventory is our stock. Okay, our inventory is our stock. We don't get exclusivity always. We get limited exclusivity for certain brands. But our investors are also relying on us. At the same time, 5 of our friends. So our channel partner community is a very unique one, right? We always work together, but we also compete with one another drastically. Intensely we compete with one another, but we always work together also. So what we've done is we enabled that further by saying your inventory is only visible to you. Nobody else can see it. So on our platform, when you log on to the platform, you will see explore demand, explore leads. You will never say explore properties. Because that's only visible to the demand side. And it's only visible to you. And demand side is controlled by us. What we have done is you've seen sites earlier say 100% verified demands. Okay? Nobody can log in on the site saying we want this property. They have to go through our due diligence that is this demand genuine. We do not want bogus demands coming in. At the same time, we do not want our channel partners to put bogus properties. So we're trying to balance things out. We'll quickly go through a demo. So the demo takes just 5 minutes. Every time, so I've covered this. You get property alerts, you get demand alerts. So key takeaways are, access to genuine leads, real-time notifications for newly added demand in your region, channel partners who take higher subscription packages, we will assist them in uploading their, suppose somebody says I've got 100 properties. 100 properties upload करने में time लगेगा. They can send it on an Excel sheet, we'll upload it in the next 2 minutes. And inventory is secured at all points of time. Karthik, let's move to the demo quickly. So while the demo is getting prepared, any questions on this?
Sudhanshu, you said this, most of some properties, you say that these are 90% matching or 80% matching. So what are the parameters of this getting close to that?
Out of the 35 fields, there are about 35 fields,
okay,
which are given to the brand. Finally, he is the one occupying the property, he's got his parameters. Right?
True.
We have chosen 14 on which they are made relevant. For example, fire NOC. We have also given the brand can ask for documentation.
Yeah.
Fire NOC relevancy match nahi karega. Right? But somebody says, I want a mall, and you are giving him high street.
Yeah.
It will not allow you to submit the property also. So what we've done is we don't want to waste your time also. Until a brand says high street or mall, then it will allow you to submit property. Matching. But you can keep it on the database. If it's not relevant to this brand, it may be relevant to another one.
So how many such listings can we post?
So it depends on the subscription package you take.
Alright.
Right now we've started with 3 subscription packages, 5 properties, 20 properties and 50 properties. 5 properties, 30 properties and 50 properties.
So these remain on the system how long?
So these will remain on the system for longer period. Subscription packages are for 3 months. To all prop members, we are giving, to all members of NAR particularly, we are giving 3 months our basic package complimentary.
So 5 listings.
5 listings are being given complimentary to all members right now. Because the thing is, we don't want to be one of those companies ki subscription liya value nahi diya. We'll give you the value first. Okay, if you like it, please continue.
That is why Sangeet will look
And this will be applicable for both office spaces and retail.
Currently, we've started with retail.
Okay.
We'll be adding office spaces by January for leasing only, and we'll be soon be adding sales also. Our portal, our platform is exclusively B2B. So on the supply side, it will always remain developers and channel partners only.
So I'm not able to understand. This developer has the same property which I am proposing, then what?
So out here also current practice to going.
Exactly.
Yes.
Current practice to going. So this question of yours is going to get answered in the next 2 minutes. But automatically will get answered. Yeah. Are we ready for this thing?
Yes, yes. That's good.
Is the screen visible properly?
Very, yeah, not good.
Better. Okay. So this is the demo version, right? If you see out here, you don't have anything known as explore properties over here. Explore properties करके कुछ भी नहीं है. You've got agent subscription plan, inquire as a brand, inquire as a developer, sign up as an agent, or login. There is nothing like explore properties. Explore properties is only visible to brands after they log in. What we have got out here is search for demands. You go simple, scroll down the page like this. So for example, these are the brands. So this is a sample. We cannot show you the live site, which we can show you a glimpse, but I cannot show you an example on the live site because then clients will get disturbed, right? So these are, say, our brands with us. Some of these brands are actually listed with us, some of them are not. You can click on these brands. I think you can just show. We clicked on one brand which says this brand has got X number of requirements. You say, okay, this guy has some requirement in Ravit. I have got inventory in Ravit. Can I click on it? View demand. It will so say, please log in first. Right? You log in. Very quickly. Oops. Sorry. So what we've done is that we have given you just basic data. To any call to action, you have to actually log in first. We want that everybody is verified even from the supply side. Okay, you have logged in now. You are now being able to see the detailed requirement of the brand. Ravit, retail, size, he wants high street, budget area, possession immediate. What the site is capturing is possession up to the next 12 months. So if you've got some inventory which you had leased in the past, which is getting vacated in the next 6 months, you can propose it today. Right? So these are some of the requirements that the brand has said. He wants an OC, OC is compulsory, Google location pin is required for him to evaluate. He wants a frontage of 16 feet, ceiling height of 12 feet, so complete detail is there. You can either save the demand, which will go into your dashboard profile, or what you can do is submit a property against this demand. Now this is where things, so because I had not, what has happened out here is, I had logged in, I had registered, but I had not taken a subscription plan. Even my free subscription plan I had not chosen. So the system is saying, please at least choose your free subscription plan. So we know that your five counts have started. So what is happening is, I have chosen my free subscription plan. We've gone back to the same demand. This is submit against this property. What the system is doing right now is, do you want to submit from the inventory that you had already uploaded on KEYDEMAND, or do you want to submit a fresh inventory which you have not uploaded on KEYDEMAND? Now suppose we choose submit from an existing property, right? Okay, so we are submitting a new property out here. It is actually assisting you by saying on top, under city you are seeing Pune, under city you are seeing Moshi. It is telling you this is what the brand had asked for. So when you are filling in something, you can actually match it, this is exactly what I have or not have. If you miss out something, so Kishanji answering some of your questions. Okay, when you are coming to carpet area and square feet, developer name not necessary, rent per square feet. Some of these fields are what is making your relevancy match. In certain we have given a variation of 5 to 10%. In certain variation is not allowed. Okay. For example, minimum ceiling height being 12 feet, you cannot have a variation in that. You cannot have 10 feet submitted to him. 12 ka 13 feet chalega when somebody is using the word minimum. Minimum is where the cutoff is. Sorry, just give us a second more. So I'm going to answer your question about developer ने submit किया या हमने submit किया. I'm just coming to that.
So till then,
हाँ जी?
Google location. Client का यार भी चलेगा देखने के लिए Google location.
नहीं वो that is coming back to Kishan ji's topic कि भाई corruption है and client का आदमी चला गया Google location के देखने के लिए.
no, so that is what I want to ask. How do you safeguard the leakage? Now that you're submitting him all the details, including the Google location.
Including the Google
So how do you safeguard this leakage? Because then now the thing is totally open. So what kind of a bonding do we have with that client that this transaction is going to happen with us?
Okay, so there is no bonding. There is no bond between you and the client. That exists today also.
Yeah.
Today also that is happening.
That will happen.
That will happen.
Yeah.
So the platform cannot control human nature.
No.
At least वो वेट पे बेचते हैं ना उनके.
हाँ.
ये भी इसमें भी transparency है sir. So what happens on the back end? What the system does? Everything which we are submitting to the client is also viewed by the BD head. There's a complete chain. So when you are sending an email, it is being sent to one person in the company. Correct? This on the system is getting approved by the board before they sign on KEYDEMAND.
But what happens is if you send him a mail, then if he falters, you find out that you had opened this property to him, you can drag him to the court.
Does not reply to your mail.
There are other ways.
What are the other ways?
We've seen all these happen in the last 16 years.
17 years I have not found another.
No, we have recovered brokerage that way. So even from big companies.
So what is happening is a very simple thing, right? When you are sending a mail, you are sending it to an incubation. When you are putting it on KEYDEMAND, it goes, there is a trace up to the most senior person in the company because this is subscribed and suggested by the board itself.
No, but do we get a copy of something of this kind? Like, I mean, the BD has seen it. There is no acknowledgement.
You cannot get a copy of your policies with us, you cannot get a copy of their policies.
So, if this property is matching 90%, then what is the next step?
We are just coming to
Close the deal.
We are just coming to
Send the brokerage bill.
So even brands are subscribing?
Brands are also subscribing, yes. Like I started with a very simple thing.
Let us understand first.
नहीं लाइट नहीं थी ना इसके लिए भी we just trying to finish up one or two questions.
So if property is matching 90%, then what is the
We are just coming to that, waiting for the light to be switched on. Thank you. So go back to the last one. Let's start from where we left. Yeah. So this is a prototype site. It will have some errors on the images. Please ignore that. Just follow the this thing. So when we are talking about this is what the brand wanted, we have gone through the detailed requirements of the brand. We say submit property against demand. In this one, we'll use the other one. Existing property from the inventory I have uploaded on KEYDEMAND. Right? Yeah. Scroll down. What this is doing is, this is now showing inventories which are on my properties which are matching on my inventory, on your inventory. It is showing the first property is say 90% relevant. You can just open this property, update if there is any missing data, submit it. When you go submit, it gets submitted to the brand. It goes directly to them in their inbox. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Do we also get a copy in our inbox of what we have submitted?
You will get a copy in your inbox, but not in your inbox, in your profile. So we'll take you through that also. You have a dashboard. You go to user page. All your properties are there. There's a record which goes there also. Okay, this property has been submitted to this person. There is a notification on top. It goes there also. Okay, this property was submitted on such date to such person. So you get a record also. So that will also be given to your Karthik, that goes to the email also, right? With the notification. Yeah. So every time you submit a property to somebody, you will get a message in your email from KEYDEMAND saying this property you have submitted to this requirement on this date. So there is an automatic record which is there with you also.
And can that record be used as a testimony to the point that yeah, we have given this particular property to XYZ?
Absolutely it can be. Absolutely it can be.
Alright, so will it have a legal stand? I mean, like, in terms of, let's say, the buyer or the lessee, to whom we are, giving, like, will it solve as the acknowledgement that yes, we have given you this property?
So I'm not qualified to answer that whether it will have a legal standing or not. Okay. But what I can definitely tell you, this is transparent.
I understand.
The current practices are not transparent.
Yeah.
Like Kishan was saying, many email which are also. What if it does not respond? What can you do about it?
So like WhatsApp has 2 ticks. Why don't you introduce a couple of ticks here? The moment the BD guy says we receive the ticks.
Yes, sir. Suppose the brand is looking for a space in a mall, and there are at least 20 channel partners who are part of your KEYDEMAND portal. They all submitted that we have the so and so mall. So how does your KEYDEMAND prioritize? Or
so the KEYDEMAND will always prioritize on basis of relevancy. So it is not, my priority is not based on visibility. It is not that if a demand comes onto a site and he says, I want XYZ location, XYZ this thing. It will not be the developer or the channel partner who has paid us for visibility. That visibility is not possible out here. Paid visibility is not possible. So the way a brand also sees it, the way you are seeing, there is a matching demand at 90%. The brand will also see matching relevancy.
So same property अगर डाली है दो चैनल पार्टनर,
हाँ जी,
वो कैसे मैच करेंगे?
तो वहाँ पर बड़ा सिंपल चीज है, 2 चीजें होती हैं यहाँ पे. आपकी प्रॉपर्टी वर्सेस योर चैनल पार्टनर्स प्रॉपर्टी, राइट? वहाँ पर whose property who has given more relevant data, who has given more relevant data, that will system automatically will show that as a higher priority. Suppose you have missed giving data on that, and your channel partner has given more data on that. Automatically, the system will show that yours is 80% relevant, and the other person is 60% relevant. That person also wants to close the deal faster and in a manner which is efficient. By default, there will be a choice that it will go by 80%. So that gentleman left the room. Again, when we are talking about a developer versus a channel partner, it will number one, the system will show priority is based on your data. After that, the brand may choose कि channel partner के साथ करना है या developer के साथ करना है.
Which is the case today also.
Which is the case today also.
Also, one point is, and usually, right? Let's say channel partner. In usual cases, let's say city like Pune, the property has been sold to an HNI, who you have control over. So if you have control on that HNI, it's very easy for you because you'll have more relevant data because you're in touch with the HNI and you believes that you use it for them. Same thing, a developer's leasing thing can also be there. But it depends, right? Because if you are quoting the realistic numbers, expectations, commercial expectations of what the HNI wants to close at or close to closing, that means more relevancy in terms of what the brand is looking for. If it's the same data has been quoted by a developer at 100 rupees, which you are quoting at 70 rupees, obviously the brand is first going to talk to you because you have more relevant data to that market. So that becomes an automatic relevancy search from a brand perspective.
Can you go to that?
There's a question.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. What if the relevancy is exactly the same? Because see, the developer provides me the data, he's not
Agreed.
the same.
The relevancy can be exactly the same.
And what's the next
Then that is always going to be the brand's choice. वो आज भी है ना? वो आज भी है. It will always be the brand's choice. What the system does do is that it puts a timestamp on it as to who has provided data when. So what we are doing is quickly taking you to a dashboard for a channel partner. When you go into a dashboard to a channel partner, what is showing is what are the properties I have submitted, what are the same demands which I had chosen recently, and what is the subscription plan that I have taken currently. If I go to my properties, and we say manage will allow you to delete, edit that property. If you've already leased it, it's not in the market, you can delete it from there. You've got corrections to make or you want to update some data, you can put it on the manage. When you go to property interests, what this has done, it has shown you so many demands or so many people from the demand side has shown interest in this property of yours. That you, for this particular property you have received. So the way we put it is, suppose you've got 1,000 square feet at Bane, for example. If it is relevant to one QSR brand or one cafe, it is probably relevant to the other 4 also.
Will this platform be open for public also?
No.
Then
It's a B2B platform only, sir.
So who are these people, like username and all?
So this is a sample, this is a prototype we are showing you.
And then this
So that username out there, that is the brand. That is the brand which is showing it to you.
And you also say property shop for sale. So we are doing both lease and sale.
We are starting with leasing, we'll be starting the sale model by June next year.
Okay.
We'll be starting the sale model by June next year. We are starting with leasing right now.
So once you start the sale, are you going to make this open for the users or public also?
No, this will always be a B2B. It will always be a B2B.
And can another channel partner source properties from here?
No.
On sharing basis?
No. So what is also happening is, as much as, so what happens is, like you said, कि भाई मैंने डाला और दूसरे ने डाला, why is that guy choosing another channel partner's property over mine? At the same time, there is a lot of pushback from channel partners that why is my inventory being visible to another one? Right? उसने मेरा inventory ले लिया. So we do not want to, wherever we can avoid a situation, we are trying to avoid that. We are trying to keep a very clean site where we are saying
But developer will not mind showing his inventory to others.
the developer's properties are also not visible to others.
Okay.
So what we are doing is a very simple thing. Our developers, when we are entering a sale model, that will also be B2B. It will always be B2B. So we want to keep this a B2B site only. It will remain a B2B site. Our main clients are going to be channel partners. Our main clients are going to be developers on the supply side. We would rather work with channel partners who are doing 50 trades and 100 trades, and this is the main line of trade, rather than investors who got 1 or 2 properties.
That will usually take you a long way. Pardon my language, but like magic bricks, like they have introduced a system like, okay, if I am an owner, if I want to sell my property, I just need to pay them 2,500 rupees for 1 month listing, and then it's visible to everybody. So that is where we feel the pain, that we are paying them 70,000-80,000 rupees or a lakh of rupees for buying the packages, and these inventories are being available. That was one thing.
For our entire marketing pitch, or entire marketing also, even on our website, everywhere, we use the word B2B very clearly.
So that's really good. That's
We use the word B2B very clearly. 16 years, Karthik and me have only done B2B business. We have never done B2C business.
And this is a totally B2B aggregation platform, right? So if we are not true to what we're doing, then we become a, and trust us, we're not like competition. We'll obviously feel that, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll try to do everything. But we want to stick to what we believe in, the core. If you're not enabling channel partners to grow, or a developer to grow, and a brand to realize what they want to realize, there's no sense to it. So we have to be true to the cause. Yeah.
How do you reach out to the brands? How do you propose?
I'm just coming to that. The next was that.
So how many brands have you enlisted?
So far we've enlisted about 22 brands.
22.
22 brands. 7 are live right now. The balance 15 are getting live over the next, say, 7 to 10 days.
Are you working on the commercial office spaces?
Yes, commercial office spaces will get live from February. We've already started signing contracts with them.
So every brand signs a contract before we enable them. So there's a check and balance.
So will this platform be visual for this brand also?
Sorry?
For this brands?
Yes.
They can also see.
Yeah. So out here the main thing is when a brand logs in, they also need to see the demands that they have submitted online. We are using this platform as a communication channel between the brand and the channel partner, the demand and the supply.
But directly they cannot contact us.
No, they cannot contact you directly. It will be through this. So what we are going to do is come back to Kishanji's question as to how do you communicate between the brand out here. So once you say respond back out here, what it is doing is it is opening a messaging module, which is an in-app messaging module. You type in a message, it opens the messaging module. So the messaging module is a very simple thing. It is in-app. Every time you correspond with each other, a message will go out on your email that XYZ brand has written to you. You can use the same app to write back with them. So there are, for example, there is social media LinkedIn uses the same module to keep your contact information private. Contact information can be shared based on your comfort. This messaging module at the bottom allows you to even share pictures and documents with each other.
Even number also.
Even mobile number. That is up to your comfort with the person. So what is happening? Brands are saying that I want to be contacted as per my discretion. Once I have got enough information on the property and I'm comfortable to go and see the site. So we went live about 15 days back. Over the last 2 days, we've had 2 cases which are now off key demand in a sense that they have reached a position where the brand and the supplier has said we want to do site visits. There was information exchange, there was communication with each other. 2 cases in Pune in the last 15 days where we've reached that position already where the brand and developer have taken it offline and said okay, let's go and start doing site visits. Our agenda out here is to enable transactions for you guys. We have kept everything transparent out here to a point. Real estate cannot be 100% online
Once we have
business.
shared mobile number with each other, with the client,
Yes.
then what is the role of key demand now?
Key demand's role is over that day, sir. The day we have communicated to you for that one brand, for that one site visit, our role for you is over. It's up to you to then go and do the transaction. It's not a transaction platform. The platform is to enable transactions. It's not a transaction platform. So our agenda out here is to get as much demand for you online. Taking one phone number is not going to hurt us. It is only going to enable us.
I think it will be good value-added service if you help us, assist us closing the deal also.
Because we want to be an enablement platform, not a transaction platform.
See, I think
We cannot have a team that large to close transactions.
See,
Then package will be more.
Hmm?
Then package will be.
It is impossible to track.
in last 1 hour, what we understood, you have got very good expertise in commercial properties.
Yes.
So why not, we are just at initial stage. So just we can say just we are learning, we are trying to learning AB.
No, sir, I'm sure you're pulling my leg when you're saying you're right.
Also, you should realize that the demand which actually has to be catered is so large that everybody in this room put together and us can never fulfill it.
What I want to tell you, we are matching with the client. Again, we are in the midway. We don't know what should be done next. So you have got expertise. Why not? We can join hands together and we can.
We are actually joining hands by making this possible.
That's what I was also pointing out. That's a lack of knowledge or the processes why realtors are not employed into commercial leasing as of today.
So
what lack of documentation knowledge, lack of legality knowledge.
That's exactly what we are doing out here. The lack of knowledge is what data is required. We have provided that this is the data which is required.
But I'm talking about the legal part, sir. I'm talking about the legal part, the drafting of the agreements, drafting of the MOUs, drafting of the LOI.
I'll answer that question. Even now, or even later, a lawyer will have to be involved.
Yes,
correct.
Definitely we agree.
Even if, assuming we get into the situation where we help you assist to the deal, I'm just saying, eventually that help is only to what? To bring, the brand to the table or to bring the brand to the site. Eventually it is left to you to close the transaction because the commercials are enabled by you. So eventually we have to be true to what we're doing, right? Aggregating the demand, bringing it to your doorstep for you to actually fulfill this.
Right.
And what we've actually believed is that there is so much demand in the country that everybody in this room, even if all the demand, let's say, now there are 22 brands signed, there will be a point in time there will be 2,000 brands on this platform. It's not humanly possible for everybody sitting in this room also to fulfill that. Right? Not only in Pune, I'm saying there will be requirements in other small, and Pune as a city has probably 20 high streets in retail. Right? That 20 in time to come will become 40. It's not possible to humanly, do this.
While on this, I would just like to understand, KEYDEMAND is creating this platform, and Evervantage is your concern, sister concern.
Yes.
So won't there be conflict of interest?
No, there is no conflict of interest. Two different companies. Completely two different companies, completely two different teams.
Explain why this is also, because we've been in business for 17 years, right? How much am I able to cater in a country like India? Not even 0.0001% of the commercial space. Not even that much.
If you take Anuj Puri's route, you will be able to cater more.
No, actually not. I'll tell you what. Why Anuj Puri left what he did. It's very simple, right? Because he couldn't cater. And why he started what he started. Because he moved companies. Now, we've been true to it, and we've actually leased 20 million square feet of space in the country over the last 17 years. Even if 20 people like me replicate this, doing what we're doing, it is not even going to scratch the surface of the requirement in the country. So just to give you an idea, we just met somebody in the banking sector. We do not name the client till we sign them. They have 2,000 requirements in 3 years. You tell me, how is it humanly possible for, let's say, Evervantage, all the IPCs put together in this country, we will not even be able to fulfill 2% of it. And I'm being very open with you. There are hundreds of such clients who need this requirement. And the idea is for us to aggregate this and give it to people who can actually fulfill. It's not possible. It's humanly not possible to do this. You will need at least 20,000 consultants to fulfill a demand of such nature. And this is going to keep continuing. This country is an average age of 27 years. Right? If you look at the history of the last 100 years, baby boomers to the entire from the 1900s, till the country reaches an average age of 42 to 43, we will never have recession. And this is a standard that is set. We are 27 years on average age, the youngest country in the world. For the next 23 years to 24 years, till our country reaches that average of 42, nothing will stop this country. And the biggest benefactor is commercial real estate. It's going to continuously grow. Brands are going to come, they are going to establish. Some of them are going to fail, some of them are going to grow. The stores will grow, stores will shrink. This is part of life. And we've done it for 17 years. The idea is to keep this platform for the next 100 years. Why we're creating a platform is, it's not possible for anybody to monopolize this. Nobody can actually monopolize it. It's a free market. Everybody who has the relevant supply, match the criteria, fulfill it offline. It's not possible for anybody in this room to cater 2,000 properties in a year and fulfill it. Right? So it's demand-led. So if demand is there, property fixes, you have control of the property, transaction gets closed.
Another question, the brands that you are getting to the table, are these brands verified in a way that they are going to pay brokerage?
It is their choice. So the brands can put on online whether they are paying brokerage or not paying brokerage. So when you are doing a search, you can search by willing to pay brokerage or not.
But key demand as such does not put any condition that you got to pay brokerage and come on our platform.
No. So we are not putting any compulsion on anybody that you have to pay brokerage if you are on this side. There are certain brands which will pay brokerage, will pay higher brokerage, and certain brands which will say, as per policy we don't pay brokerage, you please take it from the developers. Till some time back, the banking industry never paid brokerage, right? But the developers paid 2 to 3 months brokerage for banking client.
Banking clients in fact took brokerage.
Yeah. So from that perspective, you may still face some of the banking clients which do not pay brokerage.
So to enlist the brands, are you also taking a subscription charge for them?
Eventually we will, currently we are not. Eventually we will.
Some of them may stay up.
Yeah. So for us it's a very simple thing. We want people to come here to do serious business. We do not want people to come here to waste each other's time. That's the reason we've also kept it a B2B market. Right? We are happy saying that, okay, in Pune we have only 200 channel partners on our side. We'll be happy doing that rather than having 2,000 people who are not going to do business. Similarly, when brands are concerned, the idea to charge brands is so that they take it seriously. Right? We are being contacted by brands today also. Okay, I need more supply on the side. I want to move from Pune, I want to go to Satara, I want to go to Kolhapur. We are under pressure by some of our brands that 2 cities is not good enough. When you go to 20 cities, we'll come online.
What are the possibilities of getting leads? What are the possibilities of matching these properties? 90%, 60%, 70%, whatever.
I cannot say that with accuracy today, sir. Okay, what are the possibilities of getting a matching lead? It would, a lot of it would, depend upon how much data you are putting in. Like for example, when you are uploading a property, it is your choice as to how much information that you want to upload. This is not against the demand. It is just like uploading inventory on any of other prop text. The more data you upload, the chances of you having relevancy will only increase.
But at the end of the day, we as a channel partner, we always consider what is the CPL. Like if we are paying some lakhs of rupees to you for this key demand, and we are getting nothing out of maybe after 2 months or 3 months, then we always calculate what is the CPL.
Yeah, so that's the reason currently what we have done is we have given the complementary package. Please test it out. If you think that there is no value today, and you think there is value after 6 months, you can discontinue after 3 months and join back after 6 months.
Yeah, it's totally.
We are also building more demand onto the platform as much as we are building supply. At some point of time, we'll have enough demand for your value. Currently, we are inviting you to experience the platform to see how the platform works. Because this kind of a platform is for the first time. It is also I would put training and education for us why we are doing it. So please do experience it, see if this is worth your while. If you think you are getting value on the platform, then it's up to you.
It will be like first come first serve to the developer or for the channel partners.
So you left the room, I had answered that question. So I'm going to put it a very simple thing. The system does show the property based on relevancy. Right? Whether the information provided by you or the developer is more relevant will show on top. Now, after that, if the relevancy match is the same, it will always be the other person's choice. It will always be, see, currently also that is the current path. But what it also does, okay, what I want to bring while you were not in the room, today if you got a property which is relevant to one cafe brand, it will also be relevant to 5 others. And all 5 can be found on the platform.
So, what kind of activities are you planning to bring more brands?
So those activities are already on at an association level. For example, we are here with Prop in Pune to meet their members here. Similarly, similar activities are being done with retailers, with bankers, with insurance companies, with restaurateurs. Same activities at an association level are being done.
Adding local brands also.
Yeah, across.
So they are also going to take a paid subscription as per.
At some point of time, yes.
So the reason why we're also giving this right now as a free subscription is for everybody to test the platform.
Test the platform.
See, the more you test, that happens, we also learn the backend, the intelligence that can bring into place. Eventually, I think a couple of years from now, it will also, see today, as I was telling you, what is the benchmark to this in retail, for example, or office space? That has happened to that street, which is not a benchmark. So over the next, let's say few years, the system itself will be able to gather rental for that market that a brand should be paying. We will drive data to that level. And then, if you're able to give relevancy to that, even brand would know this. You would obviously also get an idea from that. Then things will match, right? So we're bringing in transparency through the entire system. It's not about only focus to probably 250 brands that you didn't know existed there. It also gives you an idea that these brands are there. Of course, you've not been able to contact all. It's not humanly possible to contact 250 brands. It won't take a lifetime to do that. So how would you match your relevance around that? Grow your inventory. So for you, it is about bringing your property to the stable and then take the transaction offline once a brand matches your relevance. Right? That's the idea, basically.
What is your vision and mission for coming 5 years?
Our vision, to be honest, can you hear it?
There's some
So our mission, to be honest, is to try and conclude online transactions and take it offline on KEYDEMAND within 24 hours. Right? If somebody has a demand, it should be met in 24 hours. There are enough channel partners with hundreds and thousands of inventory. Okay? If I am buying something on e-commerce, what is the today's mantra? I want to deliver same day.
So you have to create competition commercial also. There is no competition at all now.
So which is very good. Competition is always healthy.
So related to the portal.
But I have to answer that. Our vision is to just organize this center. It is completely unorganized right now. Our vision is just to organize this center.
No, even if you look at, let's say, the largest commercial consulting companies in this country, most of them being IPCs, their total collective share of commercial real estate is less than 3%. 97% is unorganized. 97% is unorganized. It's about how you find yourself to organize and unorganize. That's the key. 3%, and somebody told me that they have 2,200 brokers. I think some of us said some company has 2,200 brokers. The gentleman who closed transaction with Reliance, I think he told. You told no, ITCs have 2,200 brokers.
No, not brokers. They have 2,000
Employees. Yeah, fair enough. There are 2,000 employees, and all the per city. I'm saying. Let's say they have in 8 cities across the country. Each of them will probably have 16,000 employees. 16,000 employees multiplied with the 7 or 10 of them which are there are only covering 3% of the market. There is a 97% market share that is totally untapped. Now we have to understand the brand today is saying that tier 1, tier 2, I have done a lot of places. I am looking at the next till tier 7. Who's going to assist me there? No IPC will go there. Nobody will go. They will not at all go there. There's a huge market there. There, developers have no way trying to contact the brand, get that thing done. There's a huge opportunity there. The next big thing is Bharat, I would say. Because there are more than 200 towns there, which have an average population of more than 15 lakh. Nobody's catering that demand today. Banking sector needs space there. Who's doing the transaction? Some guy who doesn't understand real estate. We are organizing that. That is the beauty of this entire platform, is to reach tier 7, tier 8 cities, towns. Because that's where you need this. Yes, you need it in a Pune. Definitely Pune, if you look at what used to be Pune city and Pune outskirts. Outskirts has become far more relevant than the city today. The growth is there, right? So people used to say Chakan, for example. Chakan and Talegaon today is almost, it's its own self-sustained neighborhood.
That's the most expensive logistics
in the country.
In the country.
Yeah. So, along with a particular posting, do you allow to post a video or a e-brochure or a PDF file?
Yes.
Or how many images do you allow?
So currently the system is allowing 3 images and a video. That is getting added. That will get. So you can put up multiple images and videos. OC. The system also gives you an option to the site, but it should not be sending it to send the brand.
So is there any option for warehousing?
We've not added it as yet. That is also on its way.
Next step. So I think retail first. Retail F&B is already there. So office space next.
Advertising thing is just under advertising. See, out of all these gem partner here, even you can consider Pune, 90% or more than 90% people are working in the retail business. 90%. As you said, 97% market is 3% is for IPC and 90%.
97% is unorganized.
So again here, 3% are doing for commercial, even out of this also, and 90% are doing for residential. And that too, there is a reason. It is very easy to get new lead for residential and commercial. So at this point of time, what I feel, you have got very good experience about commercial. Again, telling you same thing. So we can give you like lead and everything. We can say commercial. With your help, I think we could close easily our deal. Otherwise, it will be very difficult.
What happens is everything looks difficult. No.
See, in that way, एक चीज और उसमें आप ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं. Like usually we are selling 50-50%. So we are selling 50% brokerage. In your case,
we don't mind sharing. You're making a job easy.
That will be
one thing I'll tell you.
That neutrality, if it is not there, it beats the purpose of the platform.
So one thing I'll tell you. Okay, classic cases, Indians, obviously there were something, if you go abroad, most Indians go abroad, they always have a something on their back, basically, right? We work hard, we make things happen, anywhere in the world. Now, classic cases, Britain has found an Indian way to run because for the last 200 years they have broken their back. Now they have to us. So to set their economy.
Premium listing or something like that, like other portals are charging.
No.
You get
So,
more visibility.
No. We are again going back to the thing, कि relevancy नहीं चलेगा पर पैसा चलेगा. Right? There is nothing like premium listing.
Okay.
Certain packages you have an option of saying featured property.
Okay.
So on a brand's page, when they log in, they will be able to see a property at the bottom. But when somebody is doing a search, it will only show the relevancy.
Need to be true to the thing, right?
So there is nothing like premium listing that your property will be shown before that, right? Otherwise, paper view हो जाएगा.
A lot of sites actually do that.
Yeah.
We don't want to.
Developers also can just buy banners which are there on brand pages to be visited and for their branding. There is nothing about there is nothing that it can be visible.
So only developers can buy the banners. CPs can't.
CPs can. CPs also can. Of course they can.
CPs also. But you know what is actually happening is why we want to do premium listing and all these things is that, see, and let's face it, right? Unfortunately, competition is, there is a lot of competition between stakeholders, right? Yeah. As is, there's relevance of developers.
So it will eventually happen here also, no?
Yeah.
With KEYDEMAND.
Any special offer for channel partners to bring the developers on board?
Okay, we can.
I think what we can do is, I've just been signaled key it is past 9:50. We are happy to answer more questions. We are happy to answer more questions during
The networking.
our dinner and networking session. We are here, we are not going anywhere, but I think it's time for some people's dinner and I think we should move there. And we are here to answer as many questions as you want.
Maybe you can answer this question.
Rashid, I have some small questions. No, like over there in terms of the parameters, do we have a point like whether that developer who is, like showcasing his property over there is willing to pay or unwilling to pay the brokerage?
We answered that.
Sorry?
Brand.
Yeah,
it is mentioned.
It is there.
Yeah.
So brand, you are giving this option then?
Yeah, there's a criteria. It's very clearly whether you're paying brokerage or not.
I think let's.
It is a very good effort that you have taken. I'm really happy.
I hope this was a wonderful session.
Yes. That's still going on. It is.
Warehousing was the first one which we had, which I think everybody liked it. I want that this mouth publicity should go further down to the people who have missed it today. Because we have to do more such training sessions further down, which is going to be benefit to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhanshu, and thank you, Karthik. Thank you, Karthik. It was really a wonderful session. Please, my please. It was really a wonderful session. On behalf of this wonderful organization known as Professional Realtors of Pune, PRO, I would request our chairman, Mr. Kishan Milani, to come forward and felicitate Sudhanshu ji.
So yeah, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful.
Karthik, I have learned how to sell commercial, how to lease commercial, and how to have patience. Could I request our secretary to come forward and felicitate Karthik?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I have to say goodbye to National Realtors of India. It was a wonderful session. Thanks to our National President Samir, who has given me this opportunity to be the business growth chairman for India. Thank you so much. God bless.
The session is open for networking and dinner and drinks.
So just one thing, I hope everybody's picked up the brochures. On the brochures, there is a simple pamphlet which shows how people can register and upload inventory. Please use that. We are actually have a couple of systems if people want to register now that can be made possible. Otherwise, you can just follow the instructions. It's a very simple instruction.
कौन
Request the block members to come for a group photograph.
Please.
All block members.
Where's Kiran?
Session पर.